Hi, I'm John from Just Whiskey. If you like today's show, please give it the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Speaking of subscribers, thanks so much for the subscribers that are really trickling. It's more than a trickle now. They are flowing in, and my subscriber base is increasing and going up. Thanks to all you out there that tune in. Thank you so much. And a special thanks, as always, to the few Patreons that I have that help support this channel financially. I really appreciate that. Thumbs up to all the Patreons out there. If you would like to become a Patreon, the description is in the link below. Last week, I did a bottle opening / neck pour of the Kleinleash 12-year-old Diageo special release. And it was a bit disjointed, and yeah, I had a few samples that night and the next day, and I got it below the shoulder line, but still it didn't seem to be totally in flux, and I'm wondering if it's possible bottle shock. So I wanted to re-review it maybe this week, but I'm going to wait one more week, and I haven't touched it in the past week, and I want to leave it for another week, so it'll be 2 weeks with the level below the shoulder and undisturbed in a cold, cool basement. And I'm going to see for myself if there is such thing as bottle shock, which I think there very well could be. And we're not talking about bottle shock prices. We're talking of the in travel, in transit, the disturbing of the molecules and the breaking up of the fatty oils that are in there. Is that possible? Well, we're gonna talk about that. And then a quick shout out for the OSWAs, the Online Scotch Whisky Awards. The website is oswa.co.uk, and it's the Online Scotch Whisky Awards. The deadline to vote is October 16th, Sunday, midnight. So if you want to vote for your favorite distillery or your favorite Scotch whiskey, and many other categories, check out the OSWA Awards. All right, today we are going to be talking about and reviewing and comparing the Glenturret 12-year-old to the Glenturret 15-year-old. Now, specifically, this Glenturret 15-year-old I previously reviewed about 4 months ago, and this is from the 15-year-old is the 2020 Maiden release. Okay, and that one came in at a whopping 55% ABV, which was not cask strength. Okay, and we're going to be comparing it to the 2021 Glenturret 12-year-old, okay, which comes in at 46% ABV. Both of these are non-chill filtered. Both of these are natural coloring. I'm going to focus more on the Glenturret 12 because I did a full review of the 15-year-old about 4 months ago, but we will be talking about that. So this Glenturret 12, well, Glenturret in general anyway, their claim to fame is that they are Scotland's oldest working distillery since 1763. Okay. And this Glenturret 12 is made up of European and American oak. I could not find any information on the sherry. There's definitely sherry maturation in here. I don't know how long it was sherry matured. I don't know if it was sherry finished or a full sherry maturation. That I could not find that information. Price-wise, the Glenturret 12 You can find it between $65 and $75. I bought this for $65 maybe 6 months ago. It's probably closer to $75 to $80 now for this, whereas the Glenturret 15-year-old, you're going to pay significantly more for it, about $135, $140 for the Glenturret 15-year-old. Okay, let's get to nosing and tasting. On the nose, there's a lot going on with this Glenturret 12. A lot more going on than the 15-year-old. You're getting, believe it or not, you're getting that slight peaty funk. I don't want to say sulfur note. And if there is, I mean it in a very complimentary way. I'm not a big sulfur person, but this reminds me a little bit of the nose of the Kilkerran 8 cask strength sherry matured. Okay, so it's got that slight peaty funk, even though this is a non-peated. This is a Highland single malt, so it's not peated, but Glenturret does do a peated offering, and I'm wondering if, being in the same facility, if there's some residual peatiness in this, which to me it seems like there is, but it's by no means a peated or it's not smoky at all, but maybe a little bit of peat on the nose. The nose leads one to believe that it's rich and luxurious, and it makes me think I'm going to have a really lush palate experience. So the nose, rich, inviting, luxurious, strawberry Twizzlers, candied fruit, and that classic, that French toast note that I get from Macallan. And speaking of Macallan 12-year-old, okay, Glenturret is supposed to be, my understanding anyway, is that they're trying to, I don't want to say compete, but compete with the old school Macallan 12-year-old, or the old school Macallan, okay? And I've never had old Macallan. I've had the newer 12-year-old, which I find it in bars. If I'm out to dinner, I'll definitely order a Macallan 12-year-old. And so the nose has a little bit of that French toast. That's what Macallan 12 reminds me of, that French toast nose. It's also got a slight sour wine note. Okay. So the nose is really, if I was just to score it on the nose alone, it would be a 91 plus for the nose. Okay. But let's get to the palate. Slightly sweet, dry. Again, you're getting that French toast, cinnamony, egg, sugar, dough. The palate is very, it's pleasant, but it's much lighter than I expected. It's actually a bit thin on the palate. It's missing that mouthfeel. It's missing that velvetiness that the nose promises. It's got a slight prickliness to it, a little bit of dry chalkiness to it. The finish I would describe as medium to medium short, actually, leaving with you with a prickly alcohol lingering bite. Lingering alcohol bite, but also a little bit of that spicy bite. But it feels, the palate feels a little watery again, but the nose is just incredible. Okay, compare it to the 15-year-old. This has been open. I reviewed this 4 months ago. This has been open for probably 2.5 to 3 months. Okay. Um, the time, it hasn't changed that much, this 15-year-old. I was really, it's 55%. This 15-year-old was very spirity and a bit hot, and it still is, even after 4 months being open. And I've had, a couple of, it's been opened a few times in the last 4 months just to sample it. So the nose is nowhere near as pronounced as the 12-year-old. The nose is a bit boozy and sharp, that nasal hair sting, a very slight acetone note in there. I'm getting candy cigarettes, a little bit of brown sugar. The palate. This really, I wouldn't say it's not velvety. It's got more of a mouthfeel, but it's sharp and biting and a bit rough. Um, Having put that aside, it has that little bit of French toast, but a little more candy fruits, a little bit peppery, definitely more spicy. And the finish is probably a medium finish with a dry astringency, and I would still say it has that hotness, that spiritiness to it. Um, 4 months ago, I scored this the 15-year-old, I scored it as an 88. Okay. And since then, 4 months, I've done quite a few reviews. And the more I review, the more I sample, the more I taste, I'm becoming a little bit more conservative with my scores. To be honest with you, probably my fault, but I scored it because I thought it had so much potential. I really thought this was going to be like an 88 plus, and I really thought it was going to really open up. And I was hoping that hotness and that spiritiness would kind of subside a little bit, but it really hasn't. So in retrospect, I would probably score this closer to an 86, to be honest with you, the 15-year-old. Okay. Um, and I think that's a fair score for this. It has not improved. It's kind of been linear, um, and it's decent, but for the money, I think you can do better, and it's literally twice the price of the 12-year-old. So, with all the flaws of the 12-year-old, I would pick the 12-year-old over this. So the nose of the 12-year-old, again, I would rate it a 91 plus, but the palate disappoints. So my overall score for the Glenturret 12-year-old has to be more like an 86 and a half to an 87, 86, 87. So it's different. It is different than the 15-year-old. I would not buy. I probably wouldn't buy either one of these again. And the main reason why I bought these is because Roy from Aquaviti was really praising the Maiden release of the 12-year-old, which I have not had. Okay, so this is good, and for the 12-year-old, if you can get it for $65 to $75, it's worth a try, but it didn't meet my expectations. So if I had to rescore these, I would say the 15-year-old is a 86, and I would say the 12-year-old is an 86 and a half to maybe an 87, because the nose is so great. But the palate it's very light and delicate, But there is enough going on there, and it is naturally, it's got a great presentation, 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, no color. So you are getting quality there, and you're getting one hell of a bottle. That's going to make a really attractive decanter for anybody that's into that. So I don't really want to go on too much more. Vote for the Oswas, oswa.co.uk. Deadline is October 16th, 2022 at midnight. And if you like today's show, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And thanks to all the Patreons that help financially support this channel and our journey. So hats off to you all, and take care, folks.